So this morning I'll be taking you on designing for value, and that will be bordering on profiting with integrity. So if you have your book, your paper, your jotter, I think you should just bring out some things because in all with all dignity and humility, I'm going to be speaking and telling you some very very deep truth and some facts and be dropping some gems. The very first thing is that I'll be explaining what designing for value means and what it really means to profit with integrity. And I'll be talking about how to monetize your creative work ethically while you are still staying true to your personal and professional values, right? So the very first question is, what is value? What is designing for value? I think value is relative. I don't know if anyone has an answer for that. I'm throwing it out. This is going to be more of like an interactive section, but I'll be doing more of the talking. So I'll be asking now, what is value? If you can, drop it in the chat box, what value is. What exactly do you take value as? What is value? Again, it doesn't have to be the same definition, but it is relative, right? Value is relative from persons to persons, from field to field. So I'll be expecting, our chat. Okay, thank you very much, Nha. It says, or she says, value is something you create. That is one side to look at it. Value is something you create, right? Any other person? Value, okay, Catalyst is saying value is relative. Yes, of course, I've mentioned that, but value is something you create. Value is relative. Well, down the line, we'll know what value is. Okay, somebody is saying value is the foundational ethics that serve as a foundation for decision. Okay, I'm trying to get that. I'm trying to understand what Bukumi typed. But value is, like I said, it is relative. It can be money, it can be skill, it can be time, right? It can be anything. So value is time relative and it's people relative. For instance, I'm giving you value right now, right? And that's in the knowledge in which I'm sharing, right? And according to this context, that is value. My time here is value. Your time here is value, right? And there are some times where value is not relative, it's consistent across the board. For instance, when we're talking about money, right? The value of money, right, has the high tendency to be more consistent across the board, across different, spaces, right? But when we talk about, I'm talking about designing for value. This value may not be very heavy when we talk about when we are trying to present this thing to somebody in the oil and gas field. That okay, designing for value, design like the guy is gonna be like it's not valuable to me. So that's why value is relative, and it is very important to know that because value is relative, you have an advantage, right? And then we'll get back to that advantage very soon. So I'm just going to go to the next slide. It says, so this is a big question, and I think you need to ask yourself this question. You don't need to put this in the chat box. And the question is, can you confidently say you are getting paid what you are worth, or probably just getting paid what they think you are worth? There are two different things. If Oluwafemi is a graphic designer and his think is worth 10 million naira, good for him. But is he actually getting paid 10 million naira? Is he getting paid 100,000 naira instead? Because the client thinks is worth the 100,000 naira. And I'll tell you what actually makes people think that you are worth 100,000 and what makes them think you are worth more than that, right? So, and yes, that is value. Value is the determining factor for pricing, for how much you are worth and everything. But we'll come back to all those things in a jiffy, right? So moving on, I will now explain this because most people get it wrong. That okay, most people think value equals money, money equals value. Yes, not necessarily, right? Money equals value, right? But value always is not equal to money. Let that sink in. Again, money equals value, but value is not always money, and this is why. Or let me just explain it like this. If I give you money, that means I'm giving you value. Any day, anytime, any season, you are having value because it's money, it's currency, it is what you can exchange for anything, for goods, for intangibles. As long as you have money, it's value. But if I say value is not money, that means this knowledge I'm giving you in the short term, right, is not necessarily money, right? However, in the long term, it can become money. Why? Because if you put this knowledge to use, you've gained value from me or from this webinar. You can put it to good use when you are interacting with your clients, and then it will translate to money. So value is not always equal to money in the short term, but most times in the long term, it can be equal to money. Even sometimes it may not be equal to money, right? For instance, there's some relationships that are valuable. It may not mean that it's money, right? It may not necessarily lead to money, but it may give you access to making money. So I don't have to double down on that too much. I know we are very intelligent people in the room. Again, value is not directly translatable to money, but money, right, is value, right? So let's move to the next part. It says, this is the misunderstood relationship between value and money, by Warren Buffett, right? You know him, right? This popular, investor, this big man, money man, right? In the financial space. It says, price is what you pay, value is what you get. So price is money, value is the intangibility. It is what you pay money for, right? It is what you get. For instance, if you say, Femi, run me a design, right? You pay me 1,000 naira for the design. That is the price. That is not the value of the design. The value of the design is the people that come for your event, the things that happen because of that design, the things that happen because of the publicity that was dragged out from that design. That is value. So the value to me now, or let me say to the White Space Elite Circle, the value for this event is you guys. You guys are here, right? Why? Because you are the people. You are the ones that we are, speaking to. You are the ones that are our value. And then the value for you, as far as this webinar is concerned, is this teaching or this knowledge I'm trying to pass on to you. Let me first just debunk the myth of a starving artist. Money is value, but value is not money. Because the price somebody pays for your art, for whatever it is you're doing, is not the value. Because when you begin to peg the value of what you do to the money they give you, there's a tendency that you begin to lowball yourself and you begin to underprice yourself and undervalue yourself. Because it only means that if you think that the value of what you're doing is the money given to you, that means if somebody gives you $1 for a complete animation project, that means you are saying your entire stress and work hours equals to $1, which is not necessarily true, right? But if you peg your value on the outcome, on the things the clients will derive, on the outcome of your project, then you'll be able to price differently across the different board. Let me give you an example. I'm still debunking, that myth, right? If a new business owner says, Femi, I need a logo, right? I'm going to charge you my basic flat rate. I have a rate card. I'm going to charge you that flat rate, and that's it. So just imagine my flat rate for a logo is 500,000 naira, right? In which that is not. But just imagine it is 500,000 naira. And I'm charging a small business. Logo, branding, and brand strategy, I just charge you like that, 500,000 naira. And the next day, a bigger company comes to say, we need a logo. Do you think I'm going to charge this person the same 500K? No. Why? Because number one, I've not placed the value of that service, right, on the 500K I put in my rate card, or on the 500K the first client paid me. I'm putting the value now in the number one, the outcome of whatever it is for my clients. Number two, the magnanimity of the client. How big are these people, right? Because a bigger client is coming means, right, it is bigger risk, bigger results, right, and more outcome for those people. Because the reason I'm saying is bigger risk is that if you do a work for a big client, you know that you cannot make mistakes. Because if you make mistakes, that means they're making mistakes, and that means the entire company is making mistakes. So you have more at stake. So that means there's more value there. And anytime you have more at stake, trust me, there's more value. Anytime you have more things to, render and deliver more outcome, a bigger outcome. That means there's more value. So the size of your client also determines the value. So if the new client now pays me, I mean the second client now pays me 5 million, that is still not the value of what I'm doing, because another client can come tomorrow bigger than the second, and they'll be willing to pay me 50 million. So in other words, the intangible works we're doing, that's this, this graphic design thing, this digital stuff, this, this intellectual property domain, right? Is the value is not tagged to money, right? And that is the myth I'm here to debunk. Okay, so let's talk about the difference between price, the difference between cost, and the difference between value. I think I've mentioned the difference between, cost and price and value. So let me just explain what cost is to you, right? Cost is what it takes you, right, to create something, as simple as that. So whether it's your time, whether it's the people, whether it's the resources, the money, electricity bill, your materials, labor, whatever. So in conclusion, cost is what it takes you to create something: the time, the material, the labor, right? So that's what the labor talks about: the people, the hands, you're employing somebody, the time, of course, you know that if it's 1 week, 2 months, 3 months, 5 years, whatever. And then materials, right? Your laptop, and then utility or resources. That's the light bills, the fuel, right? And whatever. Those are like, so that is the cost. Now the price is what you charge, right, for it, like what you charge. So if it costs me 5,000 naira to create a design, that's the people I pay. My graphic designer, for instance, 1,000 naira. I paid 1,000 naira light bill. My time is 10 naira per hour. I'm going to talk about that hourly charging very soon. You guys need to understand that it can be detrimental. And then I put all those things together as my cost, right? That's my cost. And I'll say, okay, how much do I want to charge for this? What's the price for this? And I'll put my cost, right? And my margin. My margin is my profit. Your margin is your profit, right? So my cost is 5K. And what is the margin I want? Okay, maybe I say, okay, I need 1,000 naira profit. So that's 5K cost plus 1,000 naira margin together. I present to the client as my price. So that is the price, the money the client will pay to say, okay, take for the people, the materials you've used, and also your margin. That's your profit. But that price, the question is it the value of the work? Like I've said before, it is not the value. Now, the value is the worth, right? The person that is receiving it is giving to it. So the person may even think, this thing is not worth 6,000 naira. It's worth 3,000 naira. Why? Because that person is seeing something else, right? So an instance here, I put it in my show notes here. It says a designer might spend 10,000 naira and 3 hours on a logo. That's the cost, like I explained. 10,000 naira, 3 hours. That's what it cost him to do the logo. Now it says charge 150 for the price. That's 150,000 naira for the price, right? But the client might land a 5 million deal because of the new brand identity. That's value. Remember, I said value equals to outcome. The outcome of the branding identity is the value. And when you begin to see your work from that point, when you begin to ask questions like, what will this thing bring to the client's pocket? It makes you begin to design for value. It makes you begin to design for integrity. And one more thing is this. One other thing that makes you design for value is considering who the hero of the story is. I put it in my book. I'm writing a book, like I said, The Complete Creative. It has 7 chapters. I've put myself into that book, my years of experience, and I've made podcasts about, some of these things, but they are short content. So I elaborated more on the book. And one of the things I put in the book is that you, as much as we say, pour in your emotions, right? You cannot do that ultimately, throughout, because you need to consider the hero of your design. And who is the hero? Your clients and the customers. The people, the client's clients, or the client's customers, right? Because those are the people you are designing for. And that is where your value will come from. I'm not saying you shouldn't advise your clients, but I'm saying that you need to understand why you are designing, who you are designing for, they are the major heroes. You are not the hero at all. You are just the underdog. But again, you are the big man, like that is bringing out the idea. So now, I've mentioned the difference between cost, price, and value, and I'm very sure you guys understand. Summary: cost is what it takes you to build. Price is the money you attach to it as, okay, this is how much you should pay, and value is the outcome of whatever you are doing. That is all. So now, the third point says that how artisans, I like this very much because this talks about how people price. For instance, if you go to the African market, you see people without formal education. They don't have MBA, they don't have anything, but they understand the rules and they understand the nitty-gritties of pricing. For instance, there's what we call dynamic pricing, right? There's another concept of customer profiling. You know, they just look at someone and say, this person should be able to afford this. I'll bump up the price. And it works, right? In fact, it is not exploitation. It is a way, it is actually one of the strategies of pricing. Somebody comes to you to say, I want a logo. Size the person up. Honestly, where is this person coming from? What industry? Because some people they don't even like to pay something, and they don't like to pay pennies for what they want to do. If you are not giving them 1 million at least, they will go, they walk away, they will feel you don't know what you're doing. So, and you need to be firm with your prices. We should be able to have different price tiers: standard, premium, diamond, whatever, for different people. The ones that can pay 20K, the ones that can pay 50, the ones that can pay 150, the ones that can pay 2 million, the ones that can pay above. That is one way to make sure that you are not losing out of constantly giving value. Please make sure that whatever it is you're doing is not about the money, but about the value you are ready to give to your clients. So let me move to the next point, right? The next slide, it says that, okay, the internal work, right? Knowing your worth. I think I've explained a lot of that, where we're coming from. And I have one big question. You can answer that question to yourself, right? And the question is, who are you? I still wrote it in my book. I think it's the first chapter of the first paragraph. And I wrote it there that, okay, this is what I tell my clients. This is what I tell people. And I'm still going to say it. I am not a graphic designer, right? I always say I am a visual communicator. But in fact, I'm beginning to rethink that. But yes, I'm a visual communicator because I deal with communication that has to be visual. Although I have to embellish with sound and stuff. Yes, I use sound for my videos and animations and all of that. But I am a visual communicator. My main goal is to communicate and push out an idea using visuals in a very effective way. Very effective way. So it is, if you don't know how to communicate, there's a problem. So you ask yourself the question, are you a graphic designer? Are you a communicator? If you're a graphic designer, it's not a problem. However, your value will be limited because what you are saying is that I will give you graphics. Whether it communicates or whether it doesn't communicate, I am a graphic designer. Who are you? That's a very big question you need to ask. Like I said, me, I have my answers already. You don't have to put it in the chat box. You just need to answer yourself. Who are you? Because when you know who you are, nobody can tell you who you are not. For instance, I am a man. I have beards, right? I don't have mammary glands. I am a man, male. Nobody can come to tell me that I am female and I will start crying, or I will start feeling so bad, or I will start feeling less of myself. I will just look at you. In fact, I won't even answer you. I'll just look at you, smile, and walk away. Why? Because I know who I am. So once you know who you are, I keep saying I'm a visual communicator. You can't come and tell me now that I am a music producer. In fact, the works of my hands, dictates that I am a visual communicator. You can't tell me that I'm an oil rig engineer. So long and short is, you need to know who you are. So ask yourself that question and answer yourself. So I'm going to talk about imposter syndrome, exercises to define your own value, and list of outcomes you've helped clients achieve, and all that things, and all those things. I will list the things I've helped clients achieve. You can also list that in your, because we are doing exercises as we are working. So you can share after the class. First is imposter syndrome in creative work. Nobody knows it all. And people will always be better than you. There'll be one person better than you. However, there'll be somebody that you are better than. Or let me say people, a lot of people. So never have that syndrome of, I am not enough. Will I be ever good? I am not. In fact, what makes people have imposter syndrome is because they've not answered the big question of who they are. They've not, been able to, recognize their core. I made a podcast on diversification with someone from Amsterdam. We're going to be releasing that next week, Wednesday. Andrew. We mentioned some things about core, understanding your core, anchoring and what is your core? Your core is the basic thing that, links everything you are doing together. Again, all these things are in the complete creative. Your core is the central point, the intersection point, right? For me, graphics design is my core, right? That's my core. And the truth is, my core is somebody else's everything. My everything is somebody else's core. You get the point? So people will always be better than you. So you don't have to feel less of yourself. Whether you're applying for a job, you didn't get it, whether there's a competition you're supposed to, apply for, and you are scared, I may not be first here. I mean, apply for those things, apply for the grants, start that business. Because everybody has different level of creativity. And the truth is, the creativity that I'm shouting that, oh, my creativity is crazy, is good. Somebody else will see it and be like, this is crap. And the other creativity, I'm saying, I don't really like this. Somebody else will see it and say, whoa, this is amazing. So imposter syndrome is not necessary. The next is, I'm going to, list out some of the things I've done for my clients that has helped them achieve, a good outcome. You can also put that down. I mean, on your own part, the things you've done, the exercises. You can write down things that have helped your client achieve what it is they want to achieve, so that you see over the years whether you've been giving value or you've been receiving money. There are two different things, right? Okay, there's a testimony I have. There was one project I had, and this guy gave me the project about 3 months to my wedding, and I told him I have a wedding coming up. He said, don't worry, somebody referred you to me, so I trust this person. I will talk about referrals. It is important. If you don't understand the power of referrals, you think that writing proposals and pitch deck is the way you are on the long thing. We'll talk about that. And I'll tell you how I win projects, how I don't in any way write proposals. I only write proposals when we've agreed. I don't do pitch decks. You can call me proud. Congrats to you. I don't have time to waste. My time is value. I would get to that. So, and this person said, I'm bringing this project to you this year because of the value you gave me. And what's the value? If you guess, you will think it's a 3D work and everything I did for the event. It's a big event. The truth is, that's not it. Of course, that's part of it because I didn't stress him. He said the value was the time I gave him, that I was always responsive. Even 2 days to my wedding, you know how weddings can be. Even for you that's probably your friend's wedding, on you is stressful. Talk more of the couple themselves. I was so stressed, but I was still answering this guy. And then my person assisting me with the projects too was on point, because as he was forwarding something to me, I was responding under 5 minutes with fine. And it was like, this guy, is he sure is in his wedding reception like this? I'm like, yes, I am. And I'm still responding to him. And I was still giving my wife the attention on that ground. However, I was not overpressing my phone. Once there's a vibration, I just check. If it's not the one, I put it back. If it's the one, if I can respond, I will respond immediately. If I couldn't, I'll just wait for the next 5 minutes. When probably something else is going on, I quickly respond. I pocket my phone back. And the guy said, I'm coming back to you because of this. That's his value. He valued the time I gave him. And he even gave me more this year, such that he paid double for what he paid last year. Although for more work, but not crazy more. He just added some things and we had to, and he understands that this guy, in fact, he said, I'm not, I'm not, I don't care about the money. It's about what you've given me and what you are giving me. I trust you. He said, I trust your 3D work. Can I even see your graphics design? I sent him about three or four. It was like, it's okay, don't worry. Do everything. Just handle everything. Why did he do that? Why did he trust me? First, it started from referral. Then I gave him value, and then trust. And now we are clients, yes, but it's like a brother to me now, right? Because I've consistently given him value. I have a lot of other stories I can tell, but this is one of the plenty. So long and short is that value is important. Then, what is in your creative toolbox? That's the next question. Your creative toolbox doesn't have to only be your tools, your design tools, right? Your creative toolbox can also have empathy. It can have time management. A lot of creative guys, if I'm going to ask the question, a lot of creative people don't know how to manage their time. We can have time management. We can have people management skill, emotional intelligence. We can have dexterity and excellence. Dexterity and excellence is very important. In fact, those are my two watchwords when it comes to my designs. There is no presentation I want to do that it has to be dexterous. It has to be excellent. In fact, we could have said this design webinar, there's no point of being extra, diligent. Let's just post out a poster and put it on WhatsApp, run Instagram ads, anybody will see them, may they see them. And then after, enter here and just, present something. But the intentionality and dexterity made us sit down at Elite Circle to say, okay, we want to present. What kind of things do we want? How do we want our slides to show, right? How do we want people to feel? What kind of games can we play? How do we want the audio to sound? How do we want the video to be? How do we want the presentation to look like? Those are the things that must be in your toolbox. So ask yourself. So this thing is more of internal reflection. I mean, this entire presentation, reflect on yourself. What are the things that I need in my design toolbox, in my creative toolbox? It's not only my Illustrator, my Canva, my Figma, my Cinema 4D, my Blender. No. Fine. Those things are good. Those are the tools. I also spoke about the fact that, okay, tools in the book. In fact, that book is complete. When I'm done writing the book, I think I will just sit back and read it again, right? Because the book is a blessing. So what are the things that you need to populate your toolbox with? With all that said, I'll go to the next, okay. Before I even go there, who knows Laolu Shebanjo? Who knows him very well? Anybody? Laolu? Anyone? Okay. If you don't know Laolu Shebanjo, probably you should go to Instagram and search for him. Is this popular artist that draws body art, right? Like with white ink. He draws body art, and the amount of dexterity and excellence he had made him attractive to Beyonce and to Nike, such that he became I just for copyright reasons, because this is going to be published on YouTube later, I did not add the pictures, right? So you can just go on to Instagram to search for Laolu Shebanjo. Let me just go to the next slide. So Laolu Shebanjo, right? It says it's a sacred art of Ori. Landed collaborations with Nike, Beyonce. His art told a story worth paying for. Just search for him. He used to draw them on nude ladies and just majorly body art, right? Really, really amazing guy. Why? Because he found his core, he understood the value, and he was able to push it. He didn't care whether other people are making millions from 3D art. That thing that he was doing, he was consistent with it, and he was excellent with it. The world-class thing demands excellence. World-class demands excellence. If you want to grow from Africa out, you need to be excellent. So the next is client education. This one is important. All right. Why you must sell outcome and not output. Remember, I mentioned outcome versus output in the beginning. What is outcome? Outcome is the value your client derives from using your work. right? That's the outcome. What profit it brings into their pocket, what people it attracts towards them, what value it brings to them. That's your outcome. Now, the output is just the graphics. This design is fine. That's the output. I like the colors. That's output. So most designers, they design for output. They want to be cheered. Wow, this work is amazing. But put it to value. Let it bring people in. Then we'll begin to ask questions. Where do we start from? No. So it is important to know, am I designing for value? Am I designing for outcome? For output. Am I designing for output? Am I designing for outcome? So the big question is, like I said, output or outcome. So ask yourself that question. Output or outcome? Am I designing for value? Am I designing for money? Am I designing for the views? Am I creating content on TikTok for the views? Or am I creating for the outcome? There are some people, everybody thinks that they can land. Now, this is for general creators across the board. Everybody thinks they can land brand signing and brand deals and everything by having 1 million followers. No. The truth is, you can have the output, the plenty people, 1 million followers, but you may not be influential to be able to bring out a good outcome. Why? Because all your audience they can just be people that like to dance and shake their behind on the camera, and they don't have value for anything. But what if the people are people that really, really pay for stuff? Like, they are people that understand the power of a product. That's when you can land brand deals, right? If a brand tests you the first time and they see that they're just dashing you products and the products are not there, there's no value, there's no money translating to their pocket, they'll leave you alone. So plenty numbers does not mean outcome. We can also explain why we are not just creating videos and posters, that you are enabling conversations, influencing visibility. This is the core of value-based pricing. I put that at the end yesterday, when I was reviewing this slides. When a client is telling you to do something, I've mentioned it before. There was one client that said he needed a logo, and I never design logos alone. No, I'll do you a complete brand guide. So you won't waste my time. Nah, it's not my time you will waste, right? Explain to them. Some of these people, they don't know what they want. So you need to explain why they need a logo, why they need videos, why you are not just creating posters, why you are creating an entire campaign. Like I said, this design webinar, we could have just created a poster, put it out there, and that's all. But we had to create a campaign around it. An email campaign, a WhatsApp campaign, a video campaign, a gaming campaign that, we say we gamified the entire webinar. Why? Because in value, right? Value multiplies. Value makes things, expand. And before you can multiply, you need to do a lot of work, right? You can't do one work and expect. Multiplication is what? Putting two things together or multiple things. That's why I say multiple. Multiplication is actually this plus this plus this plus this plus this. It becomes multiple. But you can't multiply by just one thing. One thing can never multiply you. So let them understand that you are not a graphic designer. You are a brand strategist. You are a communicator. And that's the beginning of value-based pricing. If myself and somebody random comes to say, we want to do a design project, I think I have more chances of winning that project because I will break down the other things you need and the other things you think you don't need. By the time I'm done, you will see that maybe you are not even ready for the project you want to embark on, because you would have thought to yourself, because every project has a recurring whatever. For instance, this webinar, we must do a post-event engagement. Why? Because the value doesn't stop. Just imagine we are planning this event and we've not thought about post-event engagement. What will happen? It will just happen and die down. So post-event engagement allows us to say there is a community, there is a podcast. Listen to the podcast. Because things have to be taught over and over again for understanding, for people to, sink into their head. There's a lot of distractions. So the same thing, a brand, right, has to be like impactful. And for it to be impactful, a logo alone will not do it. Do you understand? A video alone will not do it. So let them understand that you are a communicator, and that's the core of value-based pricing. I think I would like to roll back on pricing a bit, and I would mention two types of pricing that are mostly common. So you can put this down, right? You can put this down. I also have a podcast for that. Pricing, money. Number one, we have value-based pricing and we have time-based pricing. Value-based pricing, I think everybody gets the point. Value-based, like based on the outcome. That's everything about it. If I do these graphics, it will speak to 1,000 people and it will bring you more than 3,000 people to your event. I don't think I should do this flyer for 5,000 naira or for 10,000 naira or for 20K. Oh, you are in this industry, the oil industry, oil and gas, or power sector, or financial sector. This flyer will bring you more clients, that will bring you more money. I don't think I should do it for 10,000 naira value. But time-based pricing, that one is the biggest cheat of all time. There are times where you do time-based pricing, honestly, right? But there's a way to do it. Most times you don't do that. So we need to know that time-based pricing, doing $10 per hour, that means if a client says he needs a logo in 24 hours, or let me say under 24 hours, that means you are punishing yourself for being fast, right? And being very efficient, because the lesser the time, the lesser your money if you are charging per hour charging. So $10 per hour. That means if I use 4 hours to design this logo, you give me $40. That's it. But you need the logo under 24 hours. But if I elongate it to 23 hours, 23 times 10, that's $230. Okay, that works. It may look like it works, but you are just punishing yourself, right? How about charging for value? If I do you this logo, it will bring you more clients, hence $1,000. And I may be able to even give you in less than 24 hours. That is better, right? Or probably I'll give you in 48 hours, but it will still give you more value. That is better. Let's go to ethical pricing without exploitation. The truth is, people exploit people, right? And ethical pricing states that you don't exploit people when pricing. You don't bump up your price anyhow because you feel your value is here. Sometimes, see, don't overvalue yourself too at the end of the day. So make sure you are not exploiting people. Imagine you are going to the fueling station and they're telling you fuel is times 3 of the price. You'll get angry. Why? Because you feel it's exploitation, right? Or probably you want to buy bread that is normally maybe 2,000 naira, for instance, and somebody wants to sell the bread for you 5K. You'll be like, what? But if the person still sells it to you 2,100, right? Or 2,200, and maybe you don't have choice, you buy it. But if it's 5,000 naira, even though you don't have choice, you walk away. Why? Because you know this guy wants to exploit me. That is a simple analogy I can give for that. So make sure that you don't overshoot your price such that it is out of the market, expectations or market minimum or market average. But the major concept of designing and profiting without exploitation is the level of your customers and the value of the outcome. Don't overcharge for it. If the value of the outcome is supposed to, that is not something that is crazy, don't overcharge, right? Just do the right thing and move on. I'm going to read a Swahili proverb. I pray my lip doesn't cut away. It says, "Aba na aba, ujaza kibaba," which means little by little, a little becomes a lot. Little drops of water makes a mighty ocean. Your financial goals versus gauging your clients, right? You have financial goals. I want to hit 20 million this year, and you've gauged your clients. Gauging them, yes, they are the ones that will bring the money in, but also it's not only one client that will give you the 20 million. I mean, if you are planning on spread, and if one gives you, great, but don't push it. Don't be the one to make sure that this one. Don't exploit people. Exploitation is bad. It gives you a bad name, right? It gives you a very bad name. Build pricing tiers that work for diverse budgets. I've mentioned it before. Basic, standard, and build all those things. Then when you give discounts without devaluing your work, discounting, that's another topic for another day. I don't readily give you discounts. There are terms and conditions for giving discounts to people, right? When you want to give discount, you give discount based on probably for past record of patronage, or probably value that you know you are going to get in front, right? There are different ways to give discount, but you don't give discount on first encounter. I see I see a lot of creatives doing that because you want to win the client. The person says, "Give me a discount," and you say, "Okay, why? For what reason?" I mean, for what reason? So please, discounting, probably I'll talk about that later in the community. There are lots to unpack here. The next is value communication. How to present what you are charging for, right? How to present what you're charging for. Number one, what do you include in your price breakdown? You don't need to include your software charges or the software you are paying for, the subscriptions. However, you need to break down your invoices and quotes to your clients very well so that they will understand that, okay, this is what I'm getting. Your deliverables, break them down. I'm delivering logo, favicon, this, brand, this, that. Break it down. Let them see the things. Don't assume they know. If you say for brand strategy, 3 million, the clients may be like, what? What's that? But when you say brand strategy, 3 million, you now break it down. Logo, this, that, letterhead, that one, stationery, this one, videos, that, social media templates, this one, icon, favicon, the typography. Aha, they know that. Oh, research and development, audience, this, demography, this. They know that, oh, this guy, oh, okay, this is why he's doing the 3 million. Don't just be vague with your clients. Be detailed. And that's part of excellence. The second is when and how to show confidence without arrogance. So you need to know when to say no confidently and not arrogantly. You need to know when to say, I can do that confidently, not arrogantly. Or we can finish that in 2 weeks confidently, not out of arrogance, right? Okay, so the next thing is boundary-driven business models, right? Set boundaries, write contracts. We just dropped another podcast that was yesterday. Set boundaries, write contracts, let people know what is obtainable, the outcome of a project if there's a break in contract. Let them respect you, because if you don't set contracts, that is another way that you are killing your value. There are some people that they love people that set contracts. When you set contracts, your value bumps up. People respect you. Okay, this person respects business, understands business and value. Make sure that you set boundaries. Clients cannot text you at every time of the day and you're answering. For instance, you know that you work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Let them know. Not that they will text you 8. You are up. It's fine to respond fast, but let boundaries be set. Let them know you have a life, and let them know there are things that guard those lives. Let there be guardrails that guard your life, right? If you need more, insight on that, just go listen to the podcast I'd already released. There's one that is called Boundaries, Setting Boundaries, and then there's another one that is called that we just released on Friday. Like I said, contracts, deposits, and change of scope. Yeah, so set contracts. Make sure your clients deposit something, right? 70%, 50% before you start a project, because some things happen. And of course, change of scope of clauses. What happens when the client says, I'm no more doing? How much will they pay? What will go on? Because see, I've been in projects where I've started and I was not paid, and the clients were like, we don't think we want to continue. And there's nothing I could do because there was no contract. There was no way I could hold them down and tie them. And I told myself, this will never happen again, right? So change of scope, clauses and all that is important to have contracts. And of course, like I said, the silent killer of value is over delivering without acknowledgement, right? You said you want to do one graphics, but you've done motion graphics like 10, and they did not acknowledge it, right? Number one, they didn't ask you. Number two, did you ask if you could do an extra for them? There are sometimes that you do extra off the top of your head, but there are some extras you don't do, like going through the entire mile of doing an extra motion graphics when you didn't tell them you're going to do it before, or you didn't ask them, or they didn't ask you. It is important to know the kind of extra you will do, right? The silent killer of value is what? Over delivering without acknowledgement. Don't overkill yourself, right? You are human. You are not a robot. And then the next point is talking about, okay, this Jessica Walsh studio, right? One thing about them is that they won't enter any deal without contracts. And they were keen and strict with their contracts. They are known for their bold creativity and co-founding. That's Jessica, right? And she emphasizes that creativity thrives within structure. She believes so much in structure. And solid contracts protect both the studio integrity and the client expectations. So that one client will not tell you that the work you did is not good after you've given them a lot of deliverables, or they will tell you that they want to review 1,000 times when you told them that, guys, we can't be doing reviews. So when you have a contract, your clients will give themselves sense that after 5 reviews, that is all. You start to pay 5% of the initial charge. They'll give themselves sense, right? So for designers, Walsh's method is a reminder that clarity isn't just administrative, it is a creative protection. Write contracts. And if you don't know how to write contracts, listen to my podcast, reach out to a lawyer friend or a lawyer. And if you don't have the money for that, ChatGPT is there. Pick it up, write contract, right? Edit it according to the project and send it out to the client. Write contract and learn how to stay by your contract. It is very, very important. And it is a way to protect yourself, right, from unnecessary stress. And yes, when integrity gets tested, it says, Biomodeba mowo komewa. It means if a child knows how to handle money, they should also know value, right? When somebody says you should plagiarize, like this is a case study, that you should copy somebody else's work, if you understand value, you will not do that. You will not copy and paste somebody's work. Rather, you still like an artist, right? You copy concepts and you change, things based on how you see things. You see somebody's layout and alignment and how this person lay out this design. Those are the things you should, look at copying, and not the elements and not the exact thing. Don't copy people's work. Don't copy and paste and tag it as your own. Integrity is on the line. As creatives of the elite circle, we are elite designers. We are not roadside designers, right? And yes, walk away from red flags without guilt. Learn to say no. Learn to say a standing no without feeling bad. If you need to say no, say no. If you need to walk away, walk away. If you need to keep quiet, keep quiet. We are people that must be respected. We are not fighting for it. But in order to get value and respect, we need to also respect ourselves. And we need to know when to say no and when to walk away from some useless deals, right? So yes, this is important. It says creating value, like I've done and I will always do. I'm recording courses. I have a book I'm writing. This webinar is value. We have templates that those things are not released yet. We're just building them underground, such that when we release those things once, everybody has value. So when we create products, right, that's another way of value. And see, guys, trust me, we don't beg people to buy our products. We will not force you. We will not say you must buy. There's still free value like this that will churn out every now and then. However, if you really, really want to get value, you exchange your money for value. That's why it's called value for value. You drop your money where your heart is. That's where your treasure is. If you don't put your money down for some things, you will not be able to get some kind of value. Put your money where your mouth is. Put your money where your mind is. Put your money where you most treasure. So if you need to buy courses, mini courses, templates, ebooks, if you need to attend webinars, seminars, paid courses, paid webinars and seminars, do that. Even free ones like this. But make sure you keep churning things into yourself to, increase your value. And of course, yes, licensing and royalties for long-term creative compensation. That one I've not seen a lot of creators, tap into that in this part of our world. But it is possible. For instance, in the musical space, they do a lot of that. In the video creation and animation space, you can also do that. Yes, royalties and licensing. Okay, and how do you do that? In the NFT space too, it's there. We have NFT projects, and we know that very soon the NFT space is going to boom again. Royalties just deals with, okay, from my sales, I'm getting 2%. Royalties, right? Maybe you have a platform. Maybe you have a book. Affiliate, you are telling people to sell the book, or you are doing affiliate marketing. Maybe you are selling other people's products, right? And you are an affiliate of that product. That is still chopping royalties. Licensing, you have something you created from scratch yourself, and you want people to keep paying for it monthly. Like maybe a plugin, you create a plugin. It's possible to create plugins. right? Or an action on Photoshop to help, people speed up their workflow, like probably an autosave plugin or something that helps people, whatever, photographers speed up their workflow or animators. License it. Let people pay, even if it's 5,000 naira per month, 2,000 naira per month. It is something that brings recurring, as long as it offers value to people, it makes their works easier, right? These are the ways to, offer value. The first exercise is pick up your book, right now, and you can put it in the chat box. List 5 things you do that clients consistently benefit from beyond what they ask for. I have a lot. Sometimes I give them free consultation. I call them up to check up on them after I've delivered to say, how are you? How is the business going? Hope you've been able to implement this and this and this. Hope you are not having difficulties. It's very important. Sometimes you can give them an extra flyer if they ask for 2, 3. That's another way to run discount. I don't run discount on money like that. I run discount on deliverables, something I can easily deliver. Number 2 is client win trackers. Keep a portfolio of results and not visuals. If you tell me to send you a portfolio, I won't send you portfolio that has just flyers. No, I'll send you portfolio that has projects. What case studies have you worked on? Not what flyers, not what designs. What projects have you been able to work on and been able to complete? Then rate review. Rate reviews come from revaluing your pricing based on value delivered, not hours spent, like I said. And that's what helps you to do value-based pricing. I mentioned initially that I was going to talk about referrals and pitch decks. And this is it in a jiffy. Referrals are better than pitch decks. Why? Because when people refer you, it skips the entire process most times of you creating a proposal and pitch deck to make the clients believe in you. When somebody says, Femi can do it, the client, he can do it. Okay, what has he done before? The referral person will say, he has done this. In fact, he did this for me, and see, just meet him. He's a good guy. The clients will get back to me and say, so person said you can do this. Please, can you do this project for me? No talking. And that's how I've been able to win most of my projects, if not all, a lot of my projects. I saw your work here. Instagram, I saw it here. Somebody said you can do this. That is how I've been able to. The time somebody told me to do a proposal, I spent months on that thing because proposal is not my thing. I won't do you a proposal or a pitch deck just to chase after you so that you can consider me. No, I'll do you a proposal and a pitch deck because you've considered me, we've agreed on a price, and you now say, okay, go on, give me a proposal of what I should be expecting. That is how to make proposals. I learned this very huge thing the hard way, and I also learned it from Chris Do. Chris Do says, you don't make proposals anyhow. You need to learn how to make proposals based on negotiations. You've negotiated, you guys have spoken, and you guys have agreed on a price. In fact, sometimes they will have paid you half or quarter. Then you now do a proposal to say, these are the things you are expecting from these other stuff and from this project. And then you start the project. So that's the difference between referrals and making proposals. Me, I'm a big fan of referrals, and it has landed me a lot of, and when people refer you, guess what? You can actually name any price most times, because now you have confidence that somebody, referred you based out of what? Outcome, not output. Because what came out of the project was making the person that referred you happy, made the person really glad. Therefore, they referred you. They didn't refer you because your work is fine, but because you gave them what? Value. That is how it works. And yes, so these are some of the value we have for you. Like I said, Beyond the Brief was released yesterday, Friday. The Prism Within will be released on Wednesday. And of course, the complete creative book is coming to you this June. So here are thought-provoking questions for you. Are your prices a reflection of your confidence or your fear? Are you scared to put a price on your stuff? Don't be scared. Be confident, but also don't be arrogant. Know what you are doing and know what you're saying. Number 2 is that, do your clients see you as an investment or an expense? Right. That question is for you. How would your price change if you were your own client? Exactly. Ask yourself those questions. And I hope with these few points of mine, I've been able to convince and not confuse you that it's important, right, to have value-based pricing rather than time-based pricing, and to design for integrity and for value and not for any other thing. Thank you very much.